Hi, welcome to a breakdown of how I composed the music for a Year 1, Semester 1 games design project. Just things to note, I am not a composer, I'm a complete amateur, I'm not even a music student. And also, I am not some kind of music theory god. I am a guitarist who plays power chords and Wonderwall. So while I can explain some basic theory, I definitely lack the words to explain anything more advanced. So please bear that in mind and enjoy. Thank you. Frantic Fishing Frenzy is an arcade-style top-down 2D pixel game that involves picking up fish and shooting evil little crabs which are trying to get you. It's developed by my friend Joe, or Beef John as you might know him, for his games design course, and as he was working on it I got really inspired to make some music for it. So in the game there's 4 main screens. The menu, the main gameplay, the death screen, and the victory screen. All 4 of which I have made music for. So pretty much the music just has to match the vibe, right? It has to be fun, arcadey, chiptune, which is interesting because I've never worked with that before. It has to be unintrusive, and as a little bonus, a bit water-inspired. I didn't really try to do that, as we'll get into, but it was like a nice undertone, you know? Yeah, just a quick note. I actually made these in a different order. So I'm going over them here in order of appearance in-game, but I made them kind of on whims and like with random flashes of inspiration. So the actual creative process looked a bit different, so a lot of them probably take ideas from ones that came after them in-game, you know what I mean? Yeah. Enjoy. So starting us off, we have the menu theme, which just quickly sounds like this. So, a menu theme. The role of a menu theme is something that I don't really know how to describe, but like, I think a lot of people just understand the vibe. Like, it has to set the tone, but not really be too intrusive. I suppose that's where the unintrusiveness note comes from. A lot of my, because again, maybe there's some complex theory behind why menu music works the way it does. I would love to see that. Adam Neely, do a video. But yeah, it just has to have the vibe of menu music, and I don't really know what that is, but I think this fits it the best. It's very short, it goes somewhere, it leaves space, and then there's a loop. It's just chill. So this is where the amateur composer in me comes out. I composed this, so we have our MIDI. I used this synth, first of all, the Magical 8-bit. It's literally the first chiptune synth that I found on like Reddit, I think. The gain always has to be lowered, and the attack always has to be increased a little bit, because otherwise it's poppy and it's very aggressive. So yeah, that's something I learned pretty quickly. Everything that I do is drawn in MIDI because A, I don't have a keyboard, and B, I cannot play it very well. Again, not a pianist. I wish I was. That would be very helpful. A lot of things I make kind of have a feel of like the pedal tone that you'd hear on organs. And also like a lot of arpeggios. So I just pick a chord and I just spread the notes out and then change them around. That's normally how I go about creating little motifs like this. And I tried to kind of do like a counterpoint thing in the bass. Sometimes it mirrors exactly, sometimes it does the opposite. So essentially what I did here, take an idea, come up with the counterpoint, which makes it resolve, take both of those ideas and change something about those, we'll call these B ideas, and then just put them together, and that's literally it. Take idea, change it. Take both ideas, change both of them. This is something I find myself doing quite a lot when I write, especially piano pieces, or just pieces in general. I've done it in most things that I've written. In the bass, I tend to just have it play a few notes in the scale a few times underneath everything. I just like I don't know, it feels like it both gives momentum and it feels like it's giving rise to something, you know? It's like an easy way to have something feel like it's building. And I just like the sound of it, you know? I think if you're running out of ideas to accompany like a melody, just walk up a scale underneath it. It might give you some interesting harmony, who knows? And obviously a nice strong resolution at the end because it's a menu theme and there'll be a bit of space in between. In terms of production and processing, so I put a flanger on it because, again, I don't like how harsh this synth sounds without effects. The waviness that the flanger gives it really smooths it out to my ears. There is probably a way you can make chiptune synths sound good. Again, I am not an expert in synths nor chiptune, so this was just a new experience for me, and I found out that chorusy and flanger effects are very helpful. Now, another thing I did was put probably my favourite plugin ever, which is Fire. It's free. And I just changed the drive amount on specific frequencies until I found a point where it sounded nice to me, I suppose. And that is literally, this has one instrument, the menu theme. Very simple. The music theory of menu themes might be an interesting topic for some of the music theory YouTubers to explore. I would love to see that. But yeah, that's that. So up next we have the main track, Gameplay, which quickly sounds like this. So the main track Gameplay is composed of 4 main parts. You have the bass, you have the synth, you got the drums, and then you've got the orchestra, broken down into its strings, its brass, and some woodwinds. And all of that is just based off the single loop that's created by the synth, which I've then pitched up or down in fourths, or however many fourths, to create the harmonies for each part. There may be some differences in there that aren't fourths, or are harmonised differently, or have different notes, but for the most part, it's just fourths up and down. I tried a couple different intervals to base my harmony around, and fourths was just the one which worked the best to me, so I stuck with that for the basis of the entire orchestra. In terms of editing then, all I really did was, just before the orchestra comes in, the synth switches up to be a panned left and right with some different chorus on them. Just to get some texture in there, I wanted a bit of difference. These two same synths are also used to transition between just the entirely synth part and the orchestra. To me, that felt smoother. In regards to editing the orchestra, I was really not happy. When I came back to this track the next day, I was not happy at all with how the brass sounded. It sounded sloppy and draggy and just... I think when you write brass, you envision it sounding big and punchy and powerful and like funky, especially if I listen to a lot of funk, like modern funk, where everything is like super tight. And so I was really not happy with it. So what I did is, as the strings transition into the brass, they briefly double themselves, and then all I did was turn the brass down and play the strings underneath it. And that seemed to tighten it up a lot to my ear, which I was a lot more happy with. Not a great deal of editing. Most of the content comes from just the parts for the orchestra. In the end, really, the main point of this track is to build hype. You need to feel hyped while you're playing this game, and I really think it's achieved that. I was quite gassed when I made this, and when you see it in context, it just really fits. But yeah, that's it. Up now we have the death theme. The theme itself sounds like this. Now, the main problem that I have with the death theme that I actually realised after the fact is that I did not save the project file for the death theme. And I wish I could go into much more detail about my production of this theme. However, the only surviving relic I have of it is what was originally supposed to be my menu theme. Specifically this little ending motif. I pretty much slowed that down and made it more dissonant, and that is essentially the only record that I have of how I made the death theme. So that is just a massive mess up on my part, and lesson learned, always save your project files if you make music. Just do it. Oh, it was stupid. I know. Hey, just a quick editor's note, because I can't remember to do anything with this theme apparently. I felt this one took the most direct influence from arcades, in the sense that the music that plays when you die in Donkey Kong or Pac-Man or Mario, a lot of Nintendo games, but like specifically in arcades, it feels in some kind of way like taunting almost. And I don't really know how to describe it. Even Doom, like Doom 1995, again, it sounds completely different, but it just has this way of making you want to play again by sort of rubbing it in. And that's the influence which I carried into making this theme. So yeah, continuing on. And last up we have the victory theme, which quickly sounds like this. So the victory theme was the final thing I composed, and really it needed to just be quick and simple. So I had two ideas in mind. The first one was the victory trumpet, brr, brr, brr. Think just Happy Wheels. Iconic. But as Joe was making the game, and I pointed out that there was no end screen music, he said, "There ain't no music out at sea." And that originally was an inspiration to make something sort of ambient. So for that reason, I actually started with some synth pads. Just for a bit of ambientness. I had this idea for like a big run-up just because it sounded victorious to me. I don't know. And if you actually pay attention to these notes, da, 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 it's like the trumpet I mentioned. And then a little flick on top, because I thought that was pretty cool sounding. Almost a bit Star Wars-y. Like the same kind of vibe as that, but like, well no, different vibe, but da 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 ding. Suppose. I don't know. So then, all I pretty much set out to do was just underscore this with some orchestra. So then, because I saw the run-up, I had a great idea. That would sound really, really, really cool on harp. So I put the two together. Now, the weird thing about these is that I was trying to figure out where exactly on the beat I should put them. And while I was trying it, I left them out of sync, and it created a sort of delay effect. But for whatever reason, I think that works so much better. And then on top of all that, I just finally added in a little bit of flute. I made this live in front of people. I originally had a piccolo for some high end. Everyone said the piccolo was way too high, so I moved it down to a flute. Quite angelic, a bit of, a nice calm celebration, not like a huge big celebration. It's like a break from all that the frantic driving force of the main theme. Then with just a little bit of mixing, I was so gassed. This is definitely the quickest one I made, and I just love it so much. But yeah, that was the victory theme. So that then concludes the breakdown of the Frantic Fishing Frenzy soundtrack, which is difficult to say when you have tongue tie like me. Yeah, this was a project full of a lot of firsts for me. I'd never composed for a game, never used chiptune, and I've never been good at using synths. So I've learned a lot about those in that time, especially how to make chiptune synths sound not like shit when you first get them. And I've also just, please save your project files, because you don't want a situation like this happening where you don't know where you got it from. The album itself, though, available on Bandcamp. You can name your own price, you can get it for free if you'd like, but if you pay just £1, $1, that's the equivalent of a few hundred Spotify streams. So, you know, it would be good if you could consider. But any at all money that gets made will go to Joe, mostly because it's his game that I made it for. It's his officially music. And it will just go back into either helping people survive uni or just making more stuff, you know? Just any kind of support. But if you want to get it for free, please get it for free. It really doesn't matter. Links will be description, comments, everywhere. The game itself, I don't know if it will be hosted anywhere. If it is, it will be also linked somewhere. If it's there, please go support it, because first-time developers making projects. Be fun to see where he goes in a few years. Thank you for watching my rambly, messy, wordy breakdown of this music. I do truly hope you've actually enjoyed. It's been a lot of fun to make, both the music and this video. Yeah, goodbye.